25 years ago, a 20-year-old Dutchman left his homeland in pursuit of a dream, the American dream, and a dairy farm that would allow him to live out his passion. This quest led Sander Penterman to Jon-De Farms in northern Wisconsin, where he met who would become some of his greatest mentors, Dean and Todd Doorninck. Well, this became a stepping stone to eventually owning his own dairy farm in Thorp, Wisconsin, Dutch Dairy. This 15th generation dairyman shares with us today a journey of starting from scratch, optimizing efficiency, being an early adapter to technology, and also heartbreaking challenges, including the tragic loss of a child. Well, this is a story of hard work, dedication, and the positive attitude that has persevered and continues to keep Sander looking forward to each new day right here on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. This is the podcast for dairy farm owners, managers, and advisors who are committed to profitability, sustainability, and excellence. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to bring you the conversations that will uplevel your skill set and your mindset so you can be a top performer in the dairy farming business. This episode is brought to you by Milk Group. Milk Group is a dairy software company that brings real-time actionable data to dairy farms around the world. They are dedicated to revolutionizing the dairy industry with their user-friendly cloud-based software. One by Milk Group is the all-in-one app that brings together all important aspects of your dairy in one place. With products such as feed and animal management software, people training, dairy facility monitoring, and scale management, Milk Group is committed to providing producers with the tools they need to succeed.
In the back of my mind, we always wanted to immigrate from the Netherlands to America or to a different country, at least of the regulations and the land values. It was so expensive to farm over there, and at that time it was still quota system too. So that's a whole different game there. So did some experience in different countries, went to Canada, Denmark, and ended up in America, and not knowing the background of the Doorninks, they happen to be Dutch. So, and then in 2000, we started to plan stuff. Went to Michigan, looked at a couple dairies there. But the Doorninks always said, Wisconsin is the heart of the dairy. That's where you need to be. And that always stuck in our minds. We have to find something here. And at the end we did. This farm was built in 2000. So it came on the market that night. We drove with the banker and Dean Doorninck, we drove here pitch dark. So good thing it was dark, I think.
So you didn't realize you were in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that was really in the middle of nowhere. We got lost in the woods because you have Clark County woods here. We had no clue where we were going. When we got here, we looked at it, and then a week later we went back and with daylight, and the heart was here. And it's like we could make this work, but it needed a lot of work, lots of work. Plus, I had to convince my parents because we were still milking in the Netherlands. And we had a nice farm in the Netherlands because we're since the 1700s we're farming. So we go way back, and it's like now you got to leave that back in the Netherlands and start up in a different country. And so it's for them it was kind of hard.
Yeah.
And especially when my mom came, it was thawing, and she had the first glimpse, and she fell in the mud, and that was it. Deal is over.
You said something. You said you could see that the heart of this was here.
Yep.
And what did you see within the setup at the time that you recognized that this was a place that you wanted to invest in and to be your home for dairy?
The barn was brand new. It was a freestyle barn and a new piler. And the piler never got, it was built for 320 cows, and I think they had 80 cows in the barn. That's the max that they milked in it. And so the piler was set up for double 12, but only had a double 8 in it. So there was room for expansion for future already. Plus the land, the previous owner had a lot of land that came with it. So we knew that if you can get that opportunity, we gotta take it. But there's not many of these opportunities coming around.
Yeah.
And so I got my parents changed their minds, and looking back, they were so happy that they did it.
So this was a place where essentially you could have cash flow immediately.
Right.
You just had to fill it with cows.
Yep.
So that was a big selling point.
Yep. So and the land, we worked something out. We did everything custom work, and so we were renting off the land. and then buy feed back to make a better cash flow in the first couple of years. And with the crop farmer or the crop person that we worked with, he was really good to work with, and so that was really helpful too. Over time, we had the relationship build up at Doorninck's too. You start knowing people, nutritionists, the experts, and you get them all involved instead of coming new in America. You don't know anybody. So, and that was the big benefit from working at somebody else's farm for a period of time and learning to know how the industry works, because it's totally different than in the Netherlands.
So you've mentioned Dean Doorninck several times. Was he a pretty big mentor for you?
Oh yeah, Dean and Todd, they really got us to the point from where we at. Yeah, they meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
It's like they helped us, they went everywhere, and they made sure that we had the best to get started.
So even though you were leaving them, they wanted to see you succeed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they saw potential, and they knew that it would work for us. So
Yeah.
that was really a big benefit. And we still are in contact with him constantly.
What did you learn from them as mentors? Any takeaways, anything that really stands out that helped you as you kind of put your stake in the ground here?
Well, they gave me perspective of larger scale dairy. It was like back in the Netherlands, 60 cow dairy, one-man operation, and now you got to work with a team. They got me involved in team building, and it's like, okay, how do you operate a dairy this size, this scale? From you have employees, it's not always easy, and it's like attracting the right kind of people, and so that helped me a lot.
So that was a big learning curve in coming here, was realizing that it wasn't going to be just you and family running the dairy. It was going to take more people than that to be able to operate at scale.
And then it's still, today it's going to be different than tomorrow. People always come and go. That's everywhere, and you got to learn to live with that and work with that.
Yeah.
We're trying to create a positive environment that people are going to stay in.
And do you feel like you can recognize that in other people too, having been there yourself?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we have a couple people here at the farm that work for us. You will see they're going to do good.
So to put the timeline in perspective of when you found this dairy, you were able to move in and clean things up and max out the parlor where it was at that time. It was about 200 cows, is that right?
Yeah, 320 cows when we started, and then we added in 2008, we made a bigger expansion. We were up to 850 cows, and then now we're around 1,000.
Okay.
So over years, we made it work with the same facilities, just maximize everything out and optimize everything. I think that's the biggest thing. Be as efficient as you can.
I'm really curious for you. When you first came here, what was your dream?
It's not easy to come to America, and at the time that I was applying for a visa, it's like you got to go through so many interviews and hoops, and you need a sponsor. And then even I met my wife in 2006. Then everybody thinks from, okay, now you have a free pass. It's not. It's like, no. We had to go to the embassy, get for interviews, and show pictures from, are you married? Is this not a fake setup? And it's like, and then the money that's involved. It's like you pay thousands and thousands of dollars just to get your green card, and you have to do it every 10 years. It's not a given. So they go through your financials, your records, and they can stop it if they want. They can say, well, we're not going to give it to you this year. So, and that's a problem.
So that was a really big challenge, was just in getting here. What kept the dream alive?
I just keep going. You know what the potentials are for the future.
And what did you think those potentials were?
Well, farming on this kind of scale, if you look back on the regulations in the Netherlands and, well, all of Europe, it's getting harder and harder. My cousins are all farming there, and it's like once in a while I talk to them, and then they come with new rules, and you don't even get where they get the rules from. And here, we have rules in place, and I think it's necessary to have rules in place, but it's to a level that everybody can still farm on a pleasant way. It's not like the government is going to control you. And that's my goal here too, for hopefully we have a next future here with our kids, and that they can keep farming and keep putting it on to the next generation here.
Yeah. So if your kids choose to farm, what generation in your family would that be if you've been farming since the 1700s?
That would be the 16th generation, I think.
Oh my gosh, 16 generations.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So because they did a history way back, and they started tracking us in the 1600s. So, and then from there on, I think we always kind of, one way or the other, we farmed.
Really?
Yeah.
And so now that one way or the other just happens to not be in the Netherlands anymore.
Correct.
So when you talk to your cousins and your family that are still dairy farming in the Netherlands, what does the labor picture look like? Like, what's an hourly wage that they're paying?
More than double.
More than double of what we pay.
Oh yeah, well, not in the ag industry. You gotta like with your factory industry. Like I think they pay about $60 an hour easy. That's just the regular stuff yet on the farm.
Wow.
And to make that work, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And that's why they want to be so efficient and minimize on employees and do most of it yourself.
Yeah.
So.
And so you've carried a lot of those same, let's call them values, with you here. You talked about how efficiency is something that you look at very closely. And I know too, you are a boots on the ground dairy manager and owner.
Yep.
So you've kind of brought that with you to your dairy here.
I think it's important that you work with your employees. It's not like, okay, you scrape that pen, or I can do it too. You know, it's not like I'm here, so I should not get dirty or anything. I don't have that perspective. And they see also from, okay, well, he's not just an office person, and he's commingled with us, and that changes the atmosphere at the farm sometimes a little bit too. They're not afraid to ask me to help, and I never want that. You know, if there's something broken, I'll be right there, and we'll fix it together. So yeah.
So you're milking about 1,000 cows here?
Yes.
And what's at the farm that you rent?
So in 2020, we had the big snowstorm come to 22, and we lost about 250 feet of our barn. And so that night we moved out 200 cows to a different facility temporarily. They milked for us, and they kept the cows until August up there, until the barn was back up and running. But that was too long for us, and we were looking for a solution to get more cows back home. So there was a farm 8 miles from here that had milk robots but was empty. And so we brought all the dry cows there, and then the dry cow barn we transferred into a milk facility of a barn. And so now that's why we got up to more cows now, because we have that other farm. And then in 2022 we got just hit really hard. And we were with 5 people on the holding area shoveling snow just to keep that part going from falling in, because if the holding area would fall in, then we would be done.
So they were on the roof trying to take that weight off.
We had like construction people on the roof. Just like I said, we would see the sections come down on the main freestyle barn while we were trying to peek over the snow edges, see how it was going.
You went through this once before where you had a collapse.
Yep.
Could you see it coming? Could you feel it coming? When did you realize, holy cow, this is
No,
gonna
not at
happen
all,
again?
because our Hertz person called. He said, you got to come to the barn. I was in for breakfast at 8 o'clock, and he said, it's not looking good. And first, I can't be too bad. And but then I got there, and all the beams were bowing. And so we got the cows out of that section, and it went really quickly. 5 minutes after we got the cows out, it all came down. So it went really fast.
Wow.
But then it's amazing how the community comes together.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a day you won't forget.
Nope.
Huh? So you didn't lose any cows that day?
No, everything went smooth. And by 6 o'clock, we had all the semis lined up, and they got loaded, and we said, just take them, we'll work it out the next day.
Wow. So what did you learn from that?
Well, we updated the whole farm, freestyle barn. So last year we did the other side, because our barn has their age, and so we upgraded everything, rebuilt it, all the headers, everything.
Wow.
Just don't want to go through it again.
So you've touched on a few of the challenges that you faced just since getting to the U.S., finding a farm, convincing your mother after she fell in the mud that this was a great place to dairy in the middle of nowhere. And then there was the learning curves and the hard work and the grit of getting started. How do you get through these things?
But you got to keep positive. stuff happens, and it will happen over and over again. We went through family tragedy, and you got to stick together, and you got to just stay strong. You have each other, and tomorrow it's going to be a new day, and you got to move forward. That's our goal.
I've had the wonderful fortune of knowing you and Amy for a long time. So this is one that Kevin and we're very touched and have a big heart for what you guys have been through. But do you want to share a little bit for others that don't know what you guys have been through as a family in the last few years?
So 3 years ago in February, we lost our oldest son. He was 23 at that time, lived on his own, and apparently he was struggling with life a little bit. Not showing it on the outside, and then in February he committed suicide. That's a day that gets taken out of your life, and it's really, really hard. But you need a family for that to rebuild, and it's a loss, and he will never be forgotten. Well, he was my stepson, but I know him since he was 6 years old. That he came in our life, and he was just my son. That's how we treated him, and that's how he got accepted in my life. So, and the same as a daughter. So yeah, it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
We always talk about him and look back on the bright things and the fun things in life, and that's how we remember him.
Yeah.
He never expected help from anybody, but he would help everybody that was in need. So he had a really big heart.
Is there anything you'd like other people to know so that they can maybe be more aware of the people around them that seem happy on the outside, but you don't always know how much they're hurting on the inside? And
it's so hard. If you see people with a problem, or you gotta trying to get them opened up, talk to them, be positive, and help them in any way you can. That's the only thing you can do. There's organizations you can call, but like Seth too, we did not know that was coming. Some people are open about it, others are not, and you won't see it on the outside. Even if you don't have time, make time. Because it's that those 5 minutes, I think, can sometimes be a change in life.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the challenges that you have been through, and that has to be probably the biggest one of all.
Oh yeah, that is definitely, there's nothing that will top that. It's a family member, and we love them, and we always will.
Yeah.
He's going to be in our memories forever.
Thank you for sharing that and talking about the things that are hard, but are also important, that maybe one other person will hear that and it'll make a difference.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Sander. I also want to take a moment to celebrate what you have done in the 25 years that you've been here in the U.S. What gives you the greatest satisfaction?
Yeah, helping the community out. It's amazing. And then if you need something in return, and people are there for you.
And you've experienced that.
Yeah, we did. Multiple times. It's every time the community comes together from people you don't even expect. They come and warm your heart.
So the community feel has been huge. So how about on the dairy side? Like when you look out the window, what are you most proud of?
I never could have, in a million years, could have thought that I would end up something with this. Amy, the family, the kids, and then having a dairy running like this. It's a dream come true. It's not everybody gets that opportunity, but I was lucky enough that I got the opportunity to do it.
A big part of what you've been talking about and touching on too in our conversation, Sander, is efficiency, but that also lends to technology as well. I know you've been an early adapter to a lot of technologies. So walk me through a little bit about what that tech journey has been like for you.
To make a dairy operation work like this, you need to implement technology. So in 2013, we started with Cow Manager. Was unknown in the United States. And then we also, over the years, we were looking for new feed software, and the Milk Group just started up with their feed software that they have today. So I wanted something that is easy, but yet works really well for the employees, for me. And we tried it, and as of today, we still have it. I think we have it now since 5 years. That's the one feed from the Milk Group. And over time, the Milk Group expanded, and they got more like monitor systems in place. And so the one part that I always was struggling with pulsations in the piler, you never know when the pulsator is down or not. And so they came on the market with pulsator monitor. So then 3 years ago, we invested in a pulsator monitor. And then also in tank monitors, so it's connected with the milk haulers. We can see exactly the level of the tank, the temperatures, the wash cycles. So I don't have to call the milk hauler. He already can see it on his phone from, okay, we got to get to Dutch Dairy to pick up the milk. Or there's something wrong with the milk. And we all can see that too. We'll give you notifications. And then I had, from the True Milk Group, I had a customized project because we are CAFO permit. So one of the things is you have to measure your lagoon. So that's not the fun part to do. So they customized me a lagoon meter so I can see on my computer how many gallons are each day in the lagoon. And I got approved by DNR because a lot of times they don't want to approve stuff like that because it's different. But now they say we're fine with it, and now we have that in place too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of these things are huge. You talked about cow manager too. You're able to do a lot of management in your hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the things that we have is all on our cell phones, so we can manage that. The latest thing we invested in was in the bin sensory. So we have all sensors in our grain bins, so the feed mill knows already when a bin load's empty, so they already can start putting the order together. So that works out really good too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how has this changed your day to day?
Well, it makes management more efficient. You know when feed needs to be ordered, you know when a cow is sick, you know when a pulsator is done. You can be proactive. So instead of when it is broken, then you're too late. You know, you want to be always that step ahead from, okay, let's prevent it from breaking. And that's kind of my goal.
So, like, what difference has that made for you?
It frees you up more. At night, you can finally go to a ball game or to a football game, and knowing that if there is something wrong, you're not the only one that's in charge. There's multiple eyes looking at the systems. And we have a good relationship with our herds person and our piler people, and they know if an alarm comes up, okay, we have to contact this person. We don't have to always contact the owner. You know, and that's kind of nice.
So it's kind of helped to delegate the problem solving a little bit.
Right,
huh?
It does. You know, and it takes a little bit of stress away on me too.
I'm listening to it, what you're saying now, but also reflecting on the things that you have dealt with in the last few years, the big challenges that we've talked about personally and on the dairy side. Was there kind of a level of reassurance that some of these things weren't going to be an issue or one more thing on your plate when you were dealing in a crisis?
When our barn went down too, our cows went to a different farm. That farm was not set up for cow manager, but within 24 hours we had it set up. So we would still be able to monitor our cows even where they were at a different farm.
Yeah.
You know, and every farm is different. They have different protocols, and it's a big change, especially when you move 200 cows in no time to different dairy, and all of a sudden the whole cow behavior changes. We need that technology at that dairy, so that would help us out on that part.
So you mentioned that you've had one feed for 5 years now.
Yep.
So you were kind of an early adopter with that program too.
We were, yep.
What's different for you now on a day-to-day versus 5 years ago?
It's always a transition period, but so far with employees, they love it. It's easy to adapt. It's simple. We have it on the cell phone. It's easy to monitor and inventories and stuff like that.
So what's it all telling you when you're looking at a dashboard?
Well, a dashboard is like your feed efficiency, how cows are you're feeding, how is your feeding, is he overfeeding, underfeeding. You can keep track of per feeder. Your inventory is like, okay, when do we need to order? It gives you, okay, you have so many days left of feed. And there's a lot of similar systems on the market, but this just felt good for us. I think the biggest changes are behind the scenes. I think it helped us out really good.
So you're not looking to take a person out of your advisory team, but your investments have been in, like, how can we make our day-to-day more efficient, make it easier for employees, and remove the physical task of having to monitor something or fix something, huh?
You need people to come from the outside and bring new ideas into your dairy. Day to day, we're pretty focused on the dairy. I don't get too far out. You know, you go to a conference once or two to see new things, but it's a lot of times stuff that generates something new is from people that come off the farm and bring up an idea. And then it starts rolling from, okay, maybe we'll work here if we do it a little different. So that's kind of what I like.
So when you look at, again, 25 years that you've been dairying here in the U.S. and the journey it has been, is there anything you do differently?
I wouldn't change too much. I just want to get the dairy ready for the next generation, not knowing if they're gonna go on the farming side, but if they decide to take over, that it is ready for them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna force them. And we always said you gotta find what you're happy with. And if it is not dairy farm, it's not dairy farm. But if it is dairy farm, then it will be ready for you.
So when you talk about and think about next generation, daughter Brooke is 23.
Yeah.
And then the 3 younger boys, your youngest 10, same age as my little guy. And then the other 2 are now...
We have a 15-year and a 13-year-old.
And a 13-year. Yeah. Okay. So what's it going to take for this dairy to be ready for bringing in any of that next generation should they want to pursue that path?
Well, we involve on the day-to-day based things, Okay, they have their own chores and they don't always like it, but that's kind of how you enroll them and trying to find out what they do like and then get them more into that part. Some of our kids don't like to work with day in, day out with working with cows, although it's like equipment. And trying to encourage them from, okay, why don't you go a day with him and you help feed for a day, or drive with him on the tractor for a day and see if that is something for them. And I don't care what our kids are going to do in the future, but they're always welcome to come back. If they want to come back farming, we're here. But I encourage them to go somewhere else for a couple of years, see different country, different farms, learn what's out there, and then you can come back. And our kids know that, because we already said you cannot come back right away on the farm. You have to have an experience off farm for a couple of years. Degree wise, if you have a 2-year degree, or you don't have to have a 4-year degree, that's not for everybody. But I need you to do the knowledge from other people and learn on different farms or wherever it brings you.
So what do you think this dairy looks like in 10 years?
It depends on how it goes in the next 5 years. Maybe there is an expansion in for the future. If they kind of are more set from, okay, yes, this is what we want, I think then we need to grow. I'm not sure what size, but I think that's in the next 5 years. I think that's something that we have to look into.
What you've proven, Sander, in your dairy career is that you don't have to stay in the same place to be that next generation.
No,
farming,
you don't.
Do you?
No, it's if you have farming in your heart, you can farm everywhere. You got to be happy where you are. And Holland was not the place for it, and in America was. So that's how the story goes.
If someone were to come to you today and be the Sander 25 years ago, young, ambitious, hardworking, heart for farming, willing to do it anywhere, do you believe that they could start from scratch like you did today?
Yeah, I think you can. It's a little harder, but you got to work your way up. You cannot expect from, okay, I'm such and such, and I'm gonna start here, right at the top. No, I think you gotta start in the piler. That's what I did. I milked cows for a year and a half at Jon-De Farms, and then show what you can do, and then work your way up. I think that's the most valuable thing that I learned from, came from a dairy industry in Holland. I know how to milk a cow, but that's not how it goes. You start on the bottom again and work your way up. That's really important. Over the years, I got to know so many people, and you can get bits and pieces to make your dairy successful in the future.
Yeah. So who have been your core people?
Jon-De Farms was one of the big ones, and then the bank lenders. Your husband Kevin is a big asset, of course. Dave Doolittle, our nutritionist, we have him now for 3 years. Really big asset on that one. But Amy, my wife, she comes around, she sees a lot, hears a lot, and trying to implement that. And everybody that is involved in Dutch dairy can put a piece to the puzzle.
So, Sander, this has been really cool to get to sit down with you and just really revisit the things that got you where you're at and where you're heading with this dairy and the people and the technologies that you are bringing in to help you get there. And so before I ask you my last 5 final wrap-up questions, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Number one is family. You need a good family. Through the ups and downs we had in the last years, it always comes back to the family. And I think it doesn't matter how low you can go, if you have your whole family behind you that supports you in what you're doing, I think you're gonna come a long ways.
That's a good one to wrap up with. And so now I have my 5 last questions for you. These are my Uplevel 5, and these are the 5 questions I like to pick people's brains about. So first question, in 3 words, how do you want to show up each day?
Positive, positive, and positive.
That's gotten you far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's like somebody said, I know your first sentence always is, tomorrow is a new day. So yeah, that's right.
And even when it's 1 degree, tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, tomorrow's
right?
a new day, and we'll tackle it then again.
So next question, what does success look like to you?
Well, first of all, everybody has to be healthy. That's success. If everybody's healthy, and it can bring you a long ways, and see our family grow and grow into the business. If it moves on to the next generation, I think that's called a victory. I think it's
yes.
But it can change. Now like I said, I'm not gonna push them into something they don't want.
Who are the thought leaders that you follow or listen to?
Always your parents. You listen always
Yeah.
to your parents. They had to go through a lot. They had that all built up in the Netherlands, and all of a sudden they see it taken away, but moved to a different country. My dad had a really hard time with it. The day that they loaded up the cows, it was hard for him. But after that, he saw what we created here, and he came twice a year helping in field work, and he really enjoyed it. He passed away in 2014, but every moment he was here, he loved it. And seeing what we succeeded, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and you carry that with you too, don't you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What are the words you live by?
Tomorrow's another day. But you can go through hell. There's always a way to come back from it. So
You've demonstrated that in what you shared today. And last question for you, what's your next up level?
I run a little bit, trying to get a little bit more time away with my wife, see other stuff other than dairy. It's not always hard, especially now when the kids are so involved in sports. That's the thing, but it goes so fast. Evan is already 15, and before you know, he's going to be graduating. I think right now it's more like the focus on the kids let them get through high school and get them graduated. Hopefully at that time we'll see somebody that steps up and we can back off a little bit and do more overseeing and let them trying to get a taste of farming.
Yeah. So those are the goals. And I know you mentioned you do a little bit of running, but your running really isn't little. You're like, I think I'm going to go run a half marathon. You've done a few of those. Are you doing the half in Green Bay this year?
We'll be gone that week, but I will do the Eau Claire one. So usually the summer months are really hard, especially the fall months when we do corn sites, then I kind of fall off the bandwagon, and so now I go start working out again and get ready for the half marathon this spring again.
So the Eau Claire half marathon is on your list.
That's for sure,
year?
and maybe we'll squeeze Green Bay in, but I want to, but it's just gotta see how it works out.
Yeah. Well, Sander, you've shared some pretty cool pieces and parts of your story, starting from scratch. The 25 years that you've been dairying here in Wisconsin, the challenges that you've not only faced, but have overcome, and what it all keeps coming back to is what you have wrapped up with today too. It's that positive mindset, the positive focus, and the optimism that tomorrow is a new day.
Yeah.
You just heard from Sander Penterman from Dutch Dairy in Thorp, Wisconsin. And if you'd like more information about the products he mentioned from Milk Group, make sure you check out the links in our show notes. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and thanks for listening to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Milk Group. Milk Group is a dairy software company that brings real-time actionable data to dairy farms around the world. They are dedicated to revolutionizing the dairy industry with their user-friendly cloud-based software. One by Milk Group is the all-in-one app that brings together all important aspects of your dairy in one place. With products such as feed and animal management software, people training, dairy facility monitoring, and scale management, Milk Group is committed to providing producers with the tools they need to succeed.